Society.
Welcome to Nova Society. Today we're going to do a reaction video. We're going to cover escaping the rat race. What school failed to teach you about money. Let's go.
In 2003, professional boxer and heavyweight champion Mike Tyson filed for bankruptcy with $30 million in debt, despite accumulating over $300 million during the course of his career, which poses a great question about money itself. Because a great deal of our actions or our motivations in life have an underlying desire or need to acquire it. But what's the point in acquiring it if the great issue seems to be with our ability to manage it?
Americans now have the highest credit card debt in history. Translation: you didn't learn anything!
Debt is an invisible burden being carried by the country's most vulnerable.
Of course, these statistics are reflective of the UK and the US, but consider for a moment your own attitude towards money and how money exists in your own life. What is money to you? Does it seem to enter your life and immediately leave once you have it? Has it ever placed you in a vulnerable position? A vulnerability that drew you closer to a get-rich-quick scheme or a guru telling you that you can get rich if you just bought their course? Whilst my entire channel aims to tackle these topics to some degree or another, I realize that our perceptions of money are sometimes more crucial than our ability to generate it. Especially when our very brains are wired in such a way that prevents us from being financially sensible. Does it really matter if you're earning more than 6 figures a year if by the end of that year you have nothing left to show for it? Where is the disconnect? It's time we solved that mystery. And not only that, but explore a better framework for understanding money.
This video is spot on. Spot on. Because you could make hundreds of thousands of dollars per year, but what do you have to show for it? Live in a normal basic 4-bedroom house in the United States in a decent neighborhood with a G-Wagon in front of your garage. What? What are you doing? That car's way too expensive and you're only making $100K per year. People are too flashy these days. You know what I'm saying? They're too flashy with their money. They're just giving in to the hype, everything they see on social media. And it's just crazy.
Framework commonly taught in personal finance, but oftentimes missed in formal education. A question. What is money? Or rather, what does money represent? When you make a purchase from Amazon, when you're paid for your time working at a job, what is the significance of money in these transactions? Money is commonly defined as a medium of exchange, an instrument that facilitates the sale, purchase, or trade of goods between parties. But I don't think this says much about what money actually represents. I think a better way of looking at money is an expression of value. You hand over a certain amount of money to purchase something because you perceive its value to be equivalent to the amount of money that you handed over. Of course, the price is often not determined by you as an individual, but the market as a whole. But hone in on this one point. Money equals value. Why is that so important? Because often we give money a moral significance.
A quote that I'm sure you've heard: money is the root of all evil.
We look at someone who seems to have a large amount of wealth and think, they got lucky. Who did they take advantage of to get to that position? Who had to lose in order for them to gain? And never, what value was created in order to generate that money? Understanding that money is simply value is the best way to understanding that money is not necessarily evil, nor does it make a person evil. Sure, there are things such as scammers who convince you that what they have to sell is worth value, but that doesn't say much about money more so than it does their own morals. Money simply opens your options and broadens your horizons. The choices you make with that money have everything to do with your own moral dispositions. So money is an expression of value. Now what? How does this change the reality of a person living paycheck to paycheck or someone who is consumed by credit card debt? The simple mention of money equals value changes nothing. It may make me see money in a different light, but what part of that is actionable advice? To answer that question, I'll pose to you another question. What is your relationship with money? Money will come into your life and it will leave. This is a relationship that is often expressed by your income and expenses. Another practical way of expressing this, which I particularly like, is your production versus your consumption. For the most part, money will enter your life because you have produced some form of value. And for most of us, this value will come in the form of labor, a job. Money will leave when you have consumed something, a Netflix subscription, a new car, a house. In many ways, we can look at the net worth of an individual as a metric for determining their relationship between consumption and production. Now cast your mind.
So in regards to money, how is it being made? That's what you should be asking yourself. How is money being made? Like a Starbucks. I think Andrew Tate talks about this. Positioning yourself to where money is flowing. So why does someone wake up early so they can get to Starbucks on time before work? Because it's convenient? It's within a 5-mile drive? You got to ask yourself these questions. Why do they drink the coffee? Gets them wired, gets them going, right? And then what else are they selling at Starbucks? A Danish, cookies, donuts, breakfast. There's other different factors, right? Everything plays into this. And it's all a different perspective in terms of your mindset and how you can switch that and flip it and put yourself in the position of the buyer and then put yourself in the position of the seller. When you understand how the transactions are being made and why it's being made, then you can powerfully put yourself in a position you can start earning money yourself. And that's exactly what I'm doing here on YouTube. I'm creating value to the best of my ability. What businesses are out there in the world that are constantly making money? And how are they making money? And why are they making money? How can I position myself to where I can get in between that, right in the middle, to where the transactions are happening through me? What can I do to optimize on that with little to no cost to me? Do I need to put money away and invest into myself so that I can strategically place myself in that position? That's why I'm on YouTube, because I figured it out. It's not that hard to figure out. Everybody's got a YouTube channel these days. If I could strategically position myself in the marketplace on YouTube as a content creator to where I can provide a lot of value to people's lives who don't know about money or how it actually works. They know about money, of course, but some people, or a lot of people, don't know how it works. Or maybe they do know how it works, but they're just ignorant to the fact that they need to invest into themselves instead of continuously spending. Whether you're at the bar with your boys, buying shots, taking back shots all the time, trying to impress girls, showing up in the latest car, or putting rims on your car, that money could be stored so that it could have that monetary value in the future to be invested towards something that's going to generate dividends and growth for yourself and for the future of your children, if you plan on having children. Some people don't. Within today's society, especially in the United States, not that many people are having as many children as they used to. It's declined, actually. There's a great divide within our country. You need to strategically, more than ever at this pivotal time, you need to be strategic in what you do. A normal day job isn't going to cut it. Or if I'm the CEO and you're working on a side project that is eventually going to create an exit plan for you, when I need you long term, I need you for at least a decade or two to help generate money for my business. And if you're trying to exit out of my business, you're starting an e-commerce company, you're doing a YouTube, you're doing whatever it is on the side, a hobby, whatever it may be that's generating income for you, it's interfering with my company and your productivity, please believe you're going to be put into question about that. And that's the last thing we want, right? Is for our boss or a CEO to see that we're doing something that's going to free us from the matrix.
I must get free.
I can't stress this enough, guys. More than ever, you need to strategically put yourself in a position. You're generating a source of income, taking all of your focus and putting it into one thing. You don't quit. You don't give up. You put all of your energy into that one thing. You can take it overseas, okay? Whether it's an online business, e-commerce, YouTube channel, I don't know, but you need to figure it out. I got multiple side hustles aside from this YouTube channel that I'm working on right now. I'm doing Forex trading. I got investment plans with hedge companies and firms that I'm working with to generate income and dividends quarterly for me, okay? I know I said focus on just one thing and put all your energy behind it, and that's true. This one thing that I'm doing is YouTube. However, it doesn't mean you can't have multiple side hustles to add and compound on top of that one thing that you're focused on, as long as it doesn't interfere with your business and your career. In my case, as an example, YouTube. Now, if somebody tells you, oh, you're doing that YouTube thing, or you're doing this on the side, I don't know if we should hire you, or this, and that, fuck them. Move on. Keep pursuing your career. Even if you gotta work at fucking McDonald's. Get a fucking job, put the money away. But you need to do it fast, and you need to act quickly, because the world is changing, and if you do not catch up, you're gonna get left behind. Let's go.
Production. Now cast your mind back to those statistics I mentioned at the start of this video. What part of the consumption versus production relationship do you think is at fault here? Consider yourself for a moment. Think about all the money that has entered your life and left. How much of that do you still have in possession today or invested into some sort of asset? And which part of this relationship do you feel is unbalanced or needs improving? The likelihood is both. But for most of us, the biggest issue lies in our consumption. Remember the Career Builder study that found that 78% of American workers were living paycheck to paycheck? Well, it also found that of the workers who made $100,000 or more a year, 1 in 10 of them were living paycheck to paycheck. Now, you could argue that someone earning 6 figures a year may still like to earn more, but when you are paid a figure that is well above the average wage and the cost of living, and yet you still somehow find a way to spend it all, I'd argue that your relationship with consuming must be fixed before you even consider your relationship with production. As any wealthy celebrity who has filed for bankruptcy can show us, production means nothing when you have a problem with consumption. A rat race. An endless, self-defeating or pointless pursuit. Sometimes the rat race is conflated with working a 9-to-5 job. It's a comparison often used by certain individuals to guilt you into buying programs and books for them. But this seems extremely unfair, mostly because it aims to villainize a job and excludes the fact that there are those who either love or are perfectly fine with their jobs, or have other aspirations aside from their 9-to-5. A real rat race is one that is living on a financial edge, being one paycheck away from broke, constantly. A feeling as though the moment money enters your life, it immediately disappears. And the more responsibilities you have, the more dangerous this relationship becomes. The loss of a job, an unexpected health accident, or any unexpected circumstance for that matter, can throw your entire financial position into turmoil. And consider the mental consequences of living on this financial edge. Your job no longer becomes an option. It becomes a necessity in order to keep funding your lifestyle or to keep paying off debt. To quote Tyler Durden from Fight Club, the things you own end up owning you. What's the silver lining? It doesn't have to continue like that. The first stepping stone in personal finance will have you drawing an awareness to your relationship with money. This is often done by journaling your monthly expenses, categorized as housing, transportation, food, utilities, entertainment, and so on. It's about understanding yourself as a consumer, but this part is tough. In behavioral finance,
I used to hate doing this. Absolutely hate it. I hated it. I really did. I didn't like managing my expenses and balancing my checkbooks. I hated doing that shit. Keeping track of how much I spend towards groceries and food, all my bills, the utilities, the rent, car note, cell phone bill, car insurance, fucking renter's insurance per year, everything, all the bills. It's like 15, 20 different things. And then if I added on a new bill because it was something that I needed, or gym membership or something like that, it still compounded in terms of an expense and liabilities, right? Expenses and liabilities. Rich Dad, Poor Dad talks about this. And if you haven't read the book, I suggest you do. Go get it. Read the book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, by Robert Kiyosaki. It's an amazing book. I read it when I was in college. And it's about liabilities, expenses and liabilities, and understanding assets. What's coming in, what's going out, and how to manage it so that you can generate cash flow and make the proper investments into yourself and into a business or real estate or whatever it may be, into certain entities that's going to generate cash flow for you, right? And it's kind of like what I was discussing earlier, putting yourself in a position to where money is coming in and finding out how money is being made and what consumers are spending that money on, so that you can put yourself strategically in a position of power to generate that cash flow. And Rich Dad Poor Dad just kind of dives deeper into that, the fundamentals of what expenses and liabilities are, so that you can minimize them to the best of your ability so you can get out of the rat race. Okay? It's very important that you make sure that you manage your money correctly and you budget. You keep track and you know exactly what you're going to spend every single month. Sometimes you may go a little bit over, maybe $20, maybe $100, right? It depends. Unexpected circumstances may arise. Your car may break down. You need new tires. You need to get an oil change, whatever it may be. That's understandable. But make sure that you're budgeting and you're keeping track of your expenses and liabilities and your finances. Very, very important. Hey guys, do me a favor. Subscribe to the channel, like this video, leave me a comment. That's all I ask. Subscribe to the channel. Please, subscribe. What are you doing? Like the video, subscribe, leave a comment. It's not that hard. It's quite simple. Because if you don't, you're probably losing, or you're probably spending money somewhere, right? Your money's probably going out somewhere where it shouldn't be going. It should be coming in, or at least staying in, so that you can use that for financial prosperity to invest into yourself later. Let's go.
But this part is tough. In behavioral finance, this feeling can often be labeled as the ostrich effect, which is our tendency to want to avoid negative financial information. It's that feeling you get when you refuse to look at your bank account after a night out, fearing what it might show. And yet once you pass this stage, it's time for you to take control over your behavior as a consumer. This often involves the idea of budgeting. Deciding each month how much you aim to spend on each of these categories and sticking to it. It's about systematically looking at what you consume and finding ways in which you can minimize these things to ultimately live below your means. In other words, having a lifestyle that still leaves you with enough money to save and invest in some form or another. It's also important to note that before you ever decide to invest, one of the most common practices in personal finance is to keep an emergency fund, a specific amount of savings that you hold onto in case of an emergency. This fund would typically hold 3 to 6 months worth of expenses. The idea, however, of living below your means is an important one. Because why would we choose to do otherwise? Why would we choose to live a lifestyle that we cannot afford, or one that places us on this financial edge? I could make an entire video on our cognitive biases. The ostrich effect is just one of which can affect your financial position. Then there's hyperbolic discounting, a tendency to favor short-term rewards as opposed to greater rewards in the future. This is you choosing to purchase a new pair of shoes instead of saving that money towards a future investment. Or there's social proof, our tendency to think and act as others around us think and act. When the people around you are buying one thing, you buy it too. Or when the people around you establish money as a means of evil, you're likely to assume the same thing too. The phrase, keeping up with the Joneses, summarizes this great problem of consumption. It's a phrase defined by Google as trying to emulate or not be outdone by one's neighbors. They buy a new Porsche, you buy one too. They have nice clothes, you get some too. They renovate their home, you do it too. All in the attempt of impressing or trying to keep up with others due to some form of social pressure. Only in today's world, the Joneses are not literal neighbors. They're far more present than that.
We are all vulnerable to social approval. We really care what other people think of us.
But the problem is we're measuring our self-worth by how many people like what we're posting.
Governor of the Bank of Canada stated it succinctly. For most Canadians, debt is a fact of life, at least at some point.
To be clear, I'm not saying that purchasing an expensive piece of clothing, jewelry, or sports car is a bad thing, nor do I think consuming is a bad thing. The aim of this video isn't to philosophize about the repercussions of a materialistic view of the world. It's about drawing an awareness to who you are as a consumer. Do you care more about appearing as though you have money or actually having money? The rat race isn't about working a 9-to-5 job, but living life on such an edge that it means that you are chasing the next thing, whether a paycheck or a material possession, such that your greater life goals and ambitions are placed in the background in order to continue this race. A budget and keeping account of your expenses have proven time and time again to work and draw you out of this race. It's fun to talk about making money or imagining having as much wealth as possible, but what's the point when your relationship with money as a consumer means losing it all or having to work non-stop in order to fund that lifestyle? That is the real rat race.
That's the rat race, guys. If you're watching this video up until now, and listening to everything that I've said, and you're taking mental notes or you're writing it down, great job. But if you're not, and you're just endlessly scrolling on TikTok and you're just scrolling all the shorts and everything on YouTube and Twitter or X, then I'm sorry for you. I feel very, very sorry for you. I really do. But that's okay. Maybe I'll hire you if you do a good job and you can stay in the rat race. I don't know. Up to you guys. It's up to you. You are the only person standing in your way. I had to learn that the hard way. Okay? All the girls and the bars and the parties and the traveling. What was it all for? What's the point of doing all this? Oh, so I can be free and just live my life, and I don't care about money, and money is the root of all evil. I don't care about any of these things. And then in your 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, you're on government aid. You're relying on healthcare.gov. Come on. Healthcare.gov. You're relying on Social Security, which is probably going to be wiped out at some point. We'll see what happens with that when Trump gets into the office, but who knows, right? And food stamps, EBT, Section 8 housing. You're just making the rich richer. All these subsidies and all these government aid and everything that you're getting, it's still making the rich richer because they have the power to control and to sway the society from an economical standpoint, whether it's the McDonald's that you go to eat at, or the grocery store that you go to shop at with your EBT card, or your food stamps that you receive on a monthly basis, or the government aid in terms of health care when you go into a certain clinic, whatever the clinic may be that is accepted within your policy. They're still getting richer because they own those companies. Do you get it? Whether you're partying and traveling all the time and spending all your money. Oh, I'm just going to live my life. I don't care about money. But you're still spending it. And yet you still need water. You still need food, or you're going to die of starvation. Come on, guys. Come on, man. Obviously, this is something I'm passionate about, something I care about. Otherwise, I wouldn't be putting these videos out. Are you taking this shit seriously? I am. I'm taking it very serious. I'm out.